I have some exciting news for you.
Great news, sir.
Everyone around the world right now is talking about the main issue. Things are becoming more and more expensive. And as the winter months are arriving, here at Geekosophy we thought we might as well make a series of videos about the cost of living crisis. Now, technically we're going to be talking about food mainly, but as food is part of our life, unless we eat, we cannot live, it becomes a cost of living crisis as well. So we have decided to throw out a series of videos to show you or to help you with actually creating a wholesome series of meals for you, your other half, or your entire family in a very small budget. I have to be very careful there because I don't want to be like that MP, Lee Anderson, who had the audacity to say that people that use food banks actually cannot budget properly because apparently, according to him, you can live, you can eat on £2 a week.
Please, sir, I want some more.
This channel is not political, and we try to keep things as far away from politics as possible. So, frankly, for me, if Mr. Anderson said something like that in front of my face, all I could say to him is that, well, give up your salary as an MP or any other forms of income you have, and you try and live and eat with £2 a week. If you manage that for a year, then I might agree with you. So, what should you expect from this series on the cost of living crisis? We're going to be working on a very tight budget. And we're going to be creating for the next 2 weeks a series of meals every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner within that budget. Okay, we're not going to go out of that budget. So it is a way of showing you how you can restrict your cost of your food if you take these certain steps. You're going to be having a lot of regular videos being uploaded from the Geekosophy channel in the next few weeks. And we try to do our best to upload them as quickly as possible. But obviously our other commitments with our other jobs and also trying to put subtitles, etc. in our videos may slightly delay. But we're going to keep you up to date with every day that passes so you are easily notified and see how we do that. So for this introductory video in the series, I'm going to be talking you about the 10 important steps that you need to take and we're going to take in order to make sure that you have a wholesome, fulsome, flavorsome 2 weeks full of nice homemade food at a very small cost. And then from the next videos onwards, you're going to see how we're going to be doing it. So let's talk about the 10 things that you have to seriously consider if you're going to cut your costs of food from now on. The first most important thing is that you have now to start setting a specific budget for your weekly or 2 weekly, etc. food shopping and drink shopping. Okay? There's just no easy or other way around it. See how your finances go. See how much you can afford per week. It depends if you want to plan per week or every 2 weeks, that's down to you. But you have to stick to that budget, not walking into a place and suddenly see something you like and, buy it outside of that budget. You have to be very frugal about your money. So number one, make a budget, set a budget for your food and drink and stick to it. The second most important thing, and I think it could be one of the most difficult ones for you to get used to, is that you have to become in your mind a restaurant owner or a chef in a restaurant, okay? And you have to plan your meals for the next week or 2 weeks. I'm going to be talking in this series about a 2 week. So, our series covers a period of 2 weeks. But when you hear me speak about 2 weeks and your planning is per week, then you can translate it into your weekly shopping. So you have to sit down once you know your budget for those 2 weeks and set in a piece of paper what meals you're going to be having over that 2 week period. what breakfast you're gonna be having, what lunch you're gonna be having, what dinner you're gonna be having. If you want to keep within that budget, there is no way that you can avoid that, okay? Because essentially your shopping needs to reflect the ingredients you need to make those meals only, not differentiate, not divert from those meals. So it is an important thing. You have some favorite dishes that your family loves, write them down. You might have books with various recipes that you want to try, write them down. Go online and see other recipes that you might think that you would like to try, but make sure that these recipes are not taking you over budget, okay? So sort of, it has to be a balance. There has to be a day where you create meals with relatively cheap ingredients, other days that you can be more extravagant with more ingredients that cost more money. But the first and these second musts are important. Set your budget, and in accordance with that budget, make your 2-weekly meal plan and put it in a piece of paper, so when you walk into that supermarket or that market, you buy the ingredients that you need just for those meals. Number 3, and another all-important action to take, and I'm going to put the links to all the companies that I mentioned now in the description of the video below, so you can go and check them out. Make sure you join as many of those coupon offering sites, whether that's on apps on your phone or internet, etc., that offer you special offers on specific products or on specific supermarkets. Just to give you an example, I saw them first time in a website, the UK people will know about it, called Money Saving Expert, okay? And there are a number of apps on your phone that you can download and register, it's free, where you select the supermarket that you're going to do your shopping for, and they give you a range of products that you can essentially buy for free or for a very large discount. So you go, you buy them, and all you do is you scan the receipt and the product number, and you get your money back. So essentially, it's like buying it for free or for very large discounts. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to buy all these products if you're not gonna have them, if you're gonna use them. But there's many of them, whether it's drinks or cereals or packets of meat or vegetables, variety of things that essentially you can have for free. So since you have them for free, you might as well use them. Another thing that you can do is you join online the big supermarkets, okay? And you can do your shopping online. Now, the thing about this, I'm not a fan of supermarkets anyway, and I will explain later on in the video why. But what happens is that after you do your first shopping, you're gonna start receiving offers from them. For example, we received an offer from Ocado for a 20% discount on a shopping that we do over £50. So, that's a very big discount if you're gonna plan your 2 weeks worth of shopping. And Asda does that, Tesco does that, all the major supermarkets. So it is worth exploring that because, if you can reduce your budget by 15%, 10%, 20%, everything that you save is money that you can use elsewhere or move it to your next budget. So coupon sites, offer sites, discounts from major supermarkets or any sort of places that you can buy your products, it's worth registering and have them on the side and keep an eye on them because they might help you a lot reduce your daily or weekly or 2-weekly budget. Number 4, and this is where I talk to you about my dislike for major supermarkets. I think especially in the UK, but almost everywhere now, I think the supermarket has destroyed that amazing thing we had in our neighborhoods where you would have your butchers, your greengrocer, your fishmonger. You have big markets where you can go and you can smell the fruit, you can see the fruit, you can select which ones you would like, rather than see them all covered in plastic that you cannot smell it. They look lovely as if they're going to a parade. They're waxed more than somebody's Ferrari, but they're tasteless. Take, for example, the UK, a country that produces, I think, over 200 varieties of apples. You go to any large supermarket and tell me how many varieties you find. Most probably it's going to be 3, 4, maximum 5 varieties, exactly the same throughout the year. And that's insane. Not only that, but did you know that supermarkets are more expensive than your local greengrocer, fishmonger, and butcher? You might say I'm talking beep, but you can test it for yourself. You see, what supermarkets do, they are very good at recording what their customers buy and what their customers frequently buy. Okay, so let's say, for example, that a particular supermarket knows that its customers, because they can see it from their till receipts, buy mainly butter, bread, milk, bananas. Let's say there's 4 ingredients. Okay, so what they normally do, and you can find out for yourself, is that they lose money on those 4, 5, 6 products. That's right, they lose money. They sell it at a less price than they paid for it. So when you go to that supermarket, because you shop for these products mainly, plus others, you see, oh my God, that is so cheap. And immediately you think that everything you find in the supermarket is also cheaper than elsewhere else. However, that's not the case. What they do is that they lose money on those 4 or 5 products, but they are more expensive on others. And you can do a test, go around the supermarket and note down price per kilo for specific parts and cuts of meat. Then go to your butcher and check how much per kilo that butcher sells them. You will see in our further videos when we do that test, and you will see for yourself. And the same applies for the greengrocer, where you can have bags of vegetables and fruit, fresh and nice and tasty, for even 30, 40, 50% of the price that you find in a supermarket. So it is about time, if you want to cut your budget and have more food on your table, to start looking for those markets, these big markets that you can find. Okay, it's time to moan a little bit right now.
Will you stop moaning?
Because, and I'm sorry to say that, some people might get angry with what I'm going to say, but here in the UK, you have been massively shortchanged with regards to food, especially with the products you find in a supermarket. And I say that because every time I travel abroad, I like to check, the availability of food to the people of that particular place that I'm visiting. Our most recent trips was in Paris and in Porto. And we went to various markets in there where the food obviously was amazing, the fresh food. But also we went to the supermarkets because we would like to compare what you can find in supermarkets here in the UK and supermarkets abroad. And there's no comparison. Okay, there's no comparison. You go in a supermarket in the UK and you count the amount of rows you have of fresh food. When I mean fresh, is fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, fresh meat, fresh fish, something that tends to elude English supermarkets nowadays, British supermarkets nowadays. And then look at the remaining rows available of processed food, whether that's snacks and biscuits and microwave meals and tin food, that sort of stuff. British supermarkets are full of over-processed food. Maybe 2-3 rows maximum of fresh food. But the other important thing is that we walked, for example, in a big supermarket in Porto, and they had one of the entire side of the supermarket, not just a row, entire side was fish and seafood. Okay, fresh fish and seafood. And also because Porto and Portugal love their salted cods, they had rows and rows of crates full of salted cods. But I could find octopus, as a Greek I love octopus, lots of varieties of seafood, not just mussels, anything. You can find anything. You name a fish in the sea, it was there. And I was looking at it and I'm like, I wish I had that in the UK. All right, I struggle to find such variety of seafood unless I buy it online or unless I go in the general market, which I had to get up at 6-7 o'clock in the morning to get there to find that sort of fish. You walk in the supermarket and most of it is frozen and extortionate prices. So find a nice market or markets, explore, and you will see that your money will go a lot longer, a long way more than you will spend in the supermarket. Our number 5 is important not just to keep your food budgeting low, but also your energy bills. Because the winter is coming, there's no need for me to tell you what has been going on with the prices of electricity and gas. So it is about time to make sure that once you have those products at your home, you do some bulk cooking. So on a Sunday, for example, you can spend 2, 3, 4 hours, and rather than preparing your meal for that day, you can bulk some set meals. You can make 10 portions of your lamb casserole, for example, okay? Or you can make meatballs for more than one day, or burgers for more than one day. And the remainder ones, you can just keep it in the freezer, put it in portions in the freezer, and you can then defrost them and serve them for longer days. But that way, if you use your oven for those 2-3 hours to make all these meals, then you don't have to spend 1 and 2 hours cooking every day for separate meals. It will save you money on that. One of the most expensive ways to waste money is to eat out. What I mean by that is grabbing a coffee on our way to work from those well-known multinational cafes, or for lunch going to, again, a supermarket and grabbing a sandwich or that special daily offer of a sandwich, a snack, and a drink. You will see in later episodes, we're going to show you how to create amazing, fulfilling sandwiches without having to spend so much money. In fact, the money you're going to spend in one day, you must probably spend it for your whole week preparing some really large sandwiches. But it is important because if you think you spend on average about £2.50 for a sandwich, you multiply that by 5 days in the office, and then you multiply that by the amount of weeks in a year, and you can actually save that money and go on a holiday or two throughout the year just by saving that. So it is important now to prepare and eat, whether it's food in the office, prepare it from home and take it with you. I don't need to tell you how much food is being wasted, especially in countries in the Western world. Tons every day, while people in other parts of the world are starving. So I'm not asking you to throw your bins out and start scraping food out of them. But what you will see in this series of videos is making the most out of every ingredient that you make. You will see from one chicken that you can create more than 6, 7, 8, 10 meals. You will see that you don't need even to throw the bones of the chicken. You will see that from lemons, after squeezing the juice out of them, you don't need to throw them. You can create some nice sweet desserts out of them, as we do in Greece. The same with other fruit. If you break an egg to make an omelette, you will not need to throw the shells out because they make an amazing food for your plants at home. So we will try to show you ways where every single part of the product you get, you can actually reuse it for another day. Even your lettuce, you can grow a lettuce at home from what is remaining at the bottom. The same with celery, the same with everything. So you need to start becoming clever now and reducing the amount of food you waste and instead making it into something different to eat. In the good old days, our grandmas, etc., we're not throwing anything away. So it's about time we revisit that custom because it's important we do that now. Number 8 is about learning to grow things at home. Okay, I'm not telling you to, go back in your back garden and start becoming a farmer, but there are little bits and pieces where you can do easily and save money. So you will see, for example, that rather than having a cupboard full of herbs, of dried herbs, we bought little plants of herbs, our basils, our rosemaries, our thyme, our parsley, our mint, and we put them in pots by the windowsill, and they are growing, and we are growing them into other pots. So you will see that with a few pence per plant, you're going to create a nice herb garden in your kitchen that will keep it scented nicely. But at the same time, you're not going to be spending money in buying herbs. You're going to be growing yourself and using them at your food. And you can be proud of them because it's going to be your little herb children. Now, I decided to put number 9 there because I realized that whenever I visit my family in Greece, you see, as anyone most probably in the UK, I am guilty of snacking every now and then. You know, you're doing some work on your desk and you feel a bit peckish. You know, you open a packet of crisps or a biscuit or something, which obviously is not good for your health. But every time I visit my family in Greece, what I realized at the end of the trip is that I didn't have any crisps, any biscuits, no snacking whatsoever. And the reason for that is that every moment of the day, I felt full. I didn't feel the need to eat something. My stomach or my brain didn't say, oh, let's have something like that. I had crisps in front of me or biscuits. I just felt full. So it is important for you to create meals that are very filling, are keeping you full, okay? If you just have one little sandwich for lunch, you're most probably gonna reach for that packet of crisps an hour later. So it's important to have something filling as well for lunch to keep you until it's time for dinner. And this is a very good way of not wasting money on crisps and biscuits and stuff, etc. You can create snacks, but they are going to be healthier. And we will show you what we mean by that in following videos. And finally, number 10. It is important that you make full use of foods that are filling you up and are relatively still cheap. Things like pasta, things like rice and potatoes. Especially when it comes to pasta and rice, because you use very few of it and it expands once you boil it or you cook it, and it's filling. It is important that you try to make meals and dishes that include those as much as possible. For people that, try to avoid carbs, I can appreciate that, but we can tackle that problem in later parts in the series. But before we end today's episode, it is important for me to give you also some important information about how we're going to tackle this series, okay? 5 assumptions. Now, the first thing to know is that in our first shopping for this series, we are not going to buy products that we already have, okay? We assume that everyone in their household will have some ingredients in the cupboard, okay? It can be bread, it can be olive oil, it can be spices. Nobody will start using this technique starting from zero, okay? So it is a bit difficult for us to do that because obviously we started it and we have plenty of things in our cupboard. So we don't want to throw these things away. It defines the object. So in the series that you will see, in the first part of the series, you will see that sometimes, not often, but sometimes we're going to be using some ingredients in our meals that are not part of our shopping that we've done. But we will be costing them anyway in those meals. So you see the cost, the total cost of those meals, okay? So just so you know that. Now, the other assumption that we make is that the budget that we're going to use for shopping only is about food and no drinks. The reason for that is, and everybody have their own favorite drink, whether it's soft drinks or whether it's some spirits, etc. So we cannot second guess. But at the end of the day, the reason we didn't put drinks in our budget is because if you have a very low budget and you cannot afford to buy drinks, well, at least you have available for free the most thirst-quenching and healthy drink in the planet, water. Okay, you don't need to spend money for it. So this is why. So if you want to budget for your drinks as well, that will be up to you. But this series and the budget that we'll be using is just for food. Now, as I said, in this series, we're gonna be doing 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, we live in the UK, and this is the reason why we did this. Obviously, in Greece, we hardly ever have any breakfast, normally a little snack just before lunch. But, you know, we have to follow that line. So if you live in a country where you don't have breakfast, or you have bigger lunches, or you have just 2 meals, you know, you can sort of rearrange your budget and your shopping accordingly. But just so you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, it is in the series. Now, as I said in the first assumption, in the same way that we assume that you have some ingredients at your household, and therefore you're not going to be spending your entire budget to build up your kitchen, this is what we've done in this video as well. For example, we have olive oil in our cupboard, we have spices in our cupboard, we had some other stuff like chocolate and various things. Okay, so we don't want to throw these away. We try to incorporate some of them in this series, but we will always let you know which ones are, so we don't cheat from the budget that we set. And finally, Greekosophy, as the name says, most of the meals we're going to be looking at in this series are Greek. They're going to be some of the recipes we've already uploaded on our channel, some of them that we will be uploading as we go along, and others just normal meals, quick meals that we mainly do in Greece. Not all of the meals are going to be Greek, or some of them are not going to be authentically Greek, but we have to keep it as Greek as possible in this channel. But again, this is up to you. The most important thing to get from the series is the method, how to use that method. And then if you like any other cuisine, then you can, turn it into making meals from that cuisine or for any cuisine around the world. And the final note before I leave you from the first episode is that it is important to have your feedback at any given time throughout the series. Okay, so if you want, we're gonna make this first series of videos to cover the 2 weeks of our budget, and if you like it, or if you want to set us another challenge with the cost of living crisis, we can make a second series or a third series. It all depends on how well received this series will be. So feel free to ask us any questions in the comments of each video below. If you have any suggestions for the other people that watch these videos, and recommendations, anything that you are doing to budget your meals, any tips, any clues, put it all in the comments below. And as I said, we are open for you to create us other challenges. So if you want to reduce our budget, if you want to make us cook a 2-week full of vegetarian or vegan meals, or specific types of food, by all means you can suggest it in the comments below, and we'll be more than happy to consider them and discuss them and reply to you all. But for now, grab your pens and papers and watch out for the second episode in this series.